painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking, KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Art Beat. Art Beat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Art Beat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Art can be very powerful. It can transmit emotions or ideas. It can be cathartic for the artist to create and can also help the person experiencing the artwork through things they are dealing with in their own life. Much like feeling better after listening to a sad song, art can help you realize that you are not alone and that others before you have dealt with the same pain and made it through. Today on Art Beat, we speak with local artist Faye Schoen, whose work is currently being shown at the Bell Art Room in the Winona Public Library. The exhibit, titled Good Grief, Healing Through Art, will be on display through the month of October. I sat down with Faye to talk about the healing power of art and how it has helped her in dealing with the loss of her husband of 40 years. I'm Bill Stoneberg with Faye Schoen on Art Beat. How are you doing today, Faye?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Well, great. Well, thank you for being on our show today. We really appreciate it. Your exhibit is called Good Grief, Healing Through Art. And, many believe that art can heal and even help you stay healthy, emotionally and physically even. It's been said that it can relieve stress and improve communication, things like that. What do you think it is about art that kind of helps emotional healing, especially when it comes to grief?
I guess I'm not sure about the scientific aspects of it, but I certainly know experientially it's been a wonderful almost medicine for me as I've been recovering from my own grief of losing my husband of 40 years. And it's just been a real helpful, peaceful tool for me during this time.
Right. And it just talking to different artists and musicians and people like that, a lot of times they talk about their art being sort of cathartic for them to work through things. Do you think that it can also be a sort of catharsis for like the viewer or listener or someone to experience the art as well?
I certainly hope so, and that would just be an added bonus for me. But what I do notice, as you said, that when I'm painting or drawing, I feel as though I'm almost transported to a different place. And that doesn't mean I want to be alone in a solitary place. I enjoy doing art with other people, but I especially enjoy just the whole process of painting and drawing and being creative. And other people may be in the room doing the same thing, and that's just the best. I enjoy that tremendously.
Okay, so sometimes it can bring people together, just the act of doing it then, huh?
Correct, yes.
Okay. How did you get started as an artist? What got you into it, and when did you start out?
That would be a very, very long story because I started very, very, very young. Anything art, anything craft. I'm sure I picked that up from my mom, who was very creative as well. But in Mom's economy, it was, she would say, necessity is a mother of invention. And she didn't think of herself as artistic. She just figured, well, I don't have enough money to buy this, so I'll make it. But in the end, I think she was a winner, and so was our family, because it nurtured our creativity. So I've always done some form of art and craft from a very young age. I went back to college after my children were grown, and got a degree in special education. And when I did my master's work, I did it on art and therapy and how children could respond to using art for like reluctant readers or reluctant learners, and how art would motivate them. So I've used art in my classroom extensively to encourage kids. If we get this done, then we can do some art. And it was a great motivator.
Cool. That's fantastic. I like that. You spoke a little bit about grief before in the creation of the art. Is that what drives you to create, or is it like a desire to work through things, or is it just kind of whatever is going on in life, comes into your art, or how does that go?
I think a little of everything. Some of it is just learning a new technique or a new process, so it's not a big, very deep. Some of it is a place that I visited. The exhibit here has an up north section to it, which is the last vacation that my husband and I went on to the North Shore. So I used photographs from that vacation, and that was when I really got into watercolor more intensely and just realized how much I loved what watercolor does in water and the free-flowing aspect, and it just felt like this paint is doing its own thing and I get to watch it. So
That's really cool. I like that. The paint's doing its own thing. And then, like you said, I noticed there is a lot of like nature and water. You have a lot of flowers, things like that. Do you find that nature in itself, in like working with that or viewing it, experiencing it, does that help work through things as well, you think?
Oh, absolutely. I brought a painting that is not part of the exhibit today. It's the little wren up there. And shortly after Tom passed, I would sit in my backyard, and this little wren would visit me every day and sing. Tom was a singer. And this little wren would sing and building a house in that birdhouse that you see in the painting. So that painting, the reason it's not part of the display is I can't let go of it for too long. I just don't want anything to happen to it. It's a real precious piece for me. The nature question is fabulous, because I think when we're in nature, there's an aspect that is ministering to our spirit as well. You know, there's that, for me, a draw, almost like a revealing of God's nature in His creation, and it's very, very healing.
Okay. And then do you think that it brings you a little closer when you're kind of depicting nature in your artwork? Does that maybe bring you closer to it by, the way you see it? Do you see it from different angles? Or?
Possibly, but remember, the paint's doing its thing too. Okay. And so sometimes it doesn't look exactly the way you think it's going to, but it's maybe even better. So, but who could actually paint a sunset that actually looks like a sunset, really? I mean, or take a photograph and have it really look like it really looked. I mean, it's almost impossible. The beauty that God has created is pretty hard to depict in paint and photograph, and but we try, and it feels good. It feels good.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it seems to me anyway, that it's kind of like you're conveying the feeling of the subject or something, maybe to someone. You mentioned how it doesn't always turn out how you think it might or something like that. The paint's doing its thing, so it's kind of like the artwork is evolving, right?
Absolutely. I think of that, was it Bob Ross? It says it's a happy little mistake or whatever, Sometimes those happy little accidents are really pretty, so...
For sure. And do you think that, kind of letting your art evolve like that and following the process, do you think that helps people, helps the artist evolve as well?
I'm not sure. I think I've enjoyed my process, and I've enjoyed that I'm becoming more confident. I taught a class last week at Grace Place and brought some other, people that are maybe struggling with various emotional things, and it was so fun to watch them enjoy a beginner step in that process. And I thought, yep, that's the feeling that I'm looking for. It's like when you're teaching kids and they first learn to read and they get that, I did it, and that's how it is when anyone creates some art that they're actually proud of and they're going to go home and frame it. Oh, there's no better feeling in the world.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Do you think that sometimes maybe it can be like in music, people talk about, you can listen to a sad song, but it makes you feel better, You think art is kind of the same way, visual art?
Oh, I think so. I mean, there are stories on some of these paintings that I don't know how much time you have, but the man in the boat over there is dedicated to my brother-in-law who passed away just this past year. And it made me sad, but it made me happy to depict him and share it with his son and all the people that love fishing, and that painting I think has had the most response from people, that it makes them feel good, and they think it's Lake Winona, or could be the Boundary Waters, who knows? I'm not saying. So they can make it wherever it wants to be,
Well, it's a beautiful scene. I noticed that as well, and I was reading the card next to it, and it said something about he's maybe a better fisherman than his dad, according to him.
Peter, yes, yeah. Even at the funeral, his son gave a wonderful eulogy and talked about how his dad had taught him to fish, and now, his dad wasn't really as good a fisherman, but he certainly loved the process of fishing and having a good book out there on the water, and so.
And it's just nice to share those things, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about teaching classes. Are there local resources like that you know of that might help people to start creating art if they don't really know where to start and they're kind of dealing with something emotionally?
Well, I know the Minnesota Conservatory of Art has had a grant. I'm not sure. I think that may still be running. So the MCA, Minnesota Conservatory of Art. Kathy Kovala is a good teacher, and I've been attending her classes for a couple of years. I'll be offering more classes probably through the Grace Place Ministry downtown on 2nd Street. Mine is more specifically for beginners and kind of going after that therapeutic aspect a little bit, I think. So.
Okay. Do you think that even if someone is like you said, a beginner, and they don't feel like they're really an artist yet or whatever, do you think that just the process of starting it, doing it, and learning it can help them work through things as well?
Absolutely. I really do. I think there's so much fear about, art and music, I'm not any good. But nobody starts out being a professional or very good even, and who cares? I mean, if the art and music itself are helping you feel better, and the community that I found the artist community that I've been involved with in some of my classes has been very wonderful for me to be a part of. So I just encourage people to take part in art or choir or whatever it is that gets them into community and into that natural expression, that creative outlet.
Okay. Oh, I really like that. In fact, I've had some conversations recently about music and it being about getting together with people and just having a good time and feeling good, So I really like that answer. That's fantastic. And what would you kind of want people to take away from viewing and experiencing your art?
I hope they look at it and maybe feel better, or it takes them to a place that they remember in a good way. Pickwick Mill over there has already done that for some people, I know that. And some of these other pictures are Lake Winona-ish or Northern Shore-ish or Boundary Waters-ish, or there's some floral ones that people think of, when winter's so awful and we need some springtime, and I painted those tulips when there were no tulips around, and it kind of motivates us that way to just I just hope it makes them feel good.
Okay, that's great. That's, like I said, I think that's what it's about, is sharing and getting together and feeling better. Is there a place, like if someone misses the exhibit, do you have like a website or anything like that people can go to, or?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. Maybe eventually I will, but at this point I don't. I have my business cards here at the library for the time being, so I do have an email address and phone number if that's helpful for people. But come on down and look at the art, and next month or in November I'm sure there'll be another artist here, so it's always fun to come and see what the library has to offer.
Okay, great. Well, like Faye said, the exhibit's up through the end of October, and it's at the Bell Art Room at the Winona Public Library. And I'm here talking to Faye Schoen, and she's an artist who works in watercolor. And thank you so much for joining us today, Faye.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks again to artist Faye Schoen for joining us today on Artbeat. For more information on exhibits at the Winona Public Library, just search Winona Public Library on Facebook. For more conversations on art, tune into Artbeat Tuesdays at 12:30 right here on 89.5 KQAL. I'm Bill Stoneberg, and we've just heard from artist Faye Schoen on Artbeat.
Artbeat is written and produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at kqal.org.
Is art an important part of your life? Find podcasts of Artbeat and all your favorite KQAL shows at kqal.org. Artbeat is made possible by a grant from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.